Hello, welcome. I am Renee Main, and I am really here to show you how you can live and love and lead from a place of deep knowing where you're connected to your yum and for your life to be super goddamn delicious, right? Um, but let's get to the point. Why are we here today? Why are we here today? I want to talk about how we can't manifest overflow if you're still getting turned on by pain. This is a huge one, so just bear with me for a little bit and I'm going to explain it real quick. Here's the thing that most people don't understand, right? Is so often what comes up in my containers and in client sessions, and I've done probably over 15,000 client hours in my time and well over 5,000 hours of teaching hours as well. So there's a lot that's come up in my spaces. And here is something about pain that most people don't understand. Is there's an archetype in our psychology, and an archetype is a universal pattern of behavior that we all identify with, right? And so I wanted to speak today of one of the masochists. The masochist, now, masochist is someone who gets off on pain, right? If you're I was going to say woman, but anyone, if you are someone who has experienced a lot of pain in your life, potentially a lot of adversity, you might identify with the warrior or the rebel archetype, right? It's one of the flavors that I think are very closely tied here. If you're if you've known to fight, right? You're known to fight. You are well versed in fighting and you've had to fight to be happy, to be where you are today, whether it be via money or abuse or whatever life circumstances has been thrown at you, is hard. You've traversed hard because you've had to fight for everything and potentially everyone and where you are right here, right now. And you're here, and I'm so glad you are. Um, so when we have traversed this road, and it's one that I know very well, and I've danced with this as well, is what happens is when we fight, right? Now, what happens when we're used to fighting is, and we're traversing through this pain, what most people don't understand, and this is, I'm going to put on my little teaching hat here for a little moment, is pain is from, in its origin, is from what's called the law of polarity, right? The law of polarity is a hermetic universal law. So, again, this universal concept that everybody knows and everybody has experienced to some degree. And what the law of polarity shows us is it's not related to masculine and feminine energy, men, women, in any way whatsoever. So if you're kind of on this path of, polarity teaching today, that is not what it is in its origin, right? So I want to make that really, really clear. I'm not speaking about masculine and feminine or man, woman in the polarity teachings and how they're taught today. That is not the origin of what they are, right? They've been so distorted from their origin, and they're completely unrecognizable. So I just want to put that, earmark that for you. So when I speak to the law of polarity, I'm speaking to the origin of it. And the law of polarity is a mutable law. So the mutable laws are designed to change, right? Now, the law of polarity says that everything in our lives belongs on a pole, right? So these poles, healthy, unhealthy, happy, sad, hot, cold, pleasure, pain, everything belongs on a pole that's in our lives. And so remembering that how we or where we are on the pole determines our reality, right? Remembering that the mutable laws are designed to change and forever changing. So they're not fixed. What that tells us is it's perception and an illusion, because the question is, do they even exist? No. Yes, but no, right? So if you think about when I speak to the law of polarity, I often bring in the thermostat, right? Hot, cold. Now, if it is 30 degrees, right, in someone who's lived in Finland their entire life, is they're going to say it is hot outside. My God, we're in a heat wave, right? It's 30 degrees. Now, in Australia, where I live, is 30 degrees is like it's warm, like it's hot, but it's not like super hot, right? It's like it's a nice day. Yeah. If someone who is in, say, for example, India, who experiences 50-degree days, 30 degrees is kind of cool, right? So what this tells us is where we are on this pole, it's a matter of lived experience, what we're used to, and it's subjective to where we are, what we're doing, and what we've experienced, right? Someone who is, let's say, a billionaire, if they're down to potentially $100,000 in their bank, they're going to go, I'm fucking broke, right? I'm broke. Now, for someone who has struggled with wealth and money for their entire life, for whatever reason, 100 grand is going to be like Christmas has come all at once, right? So this this wealthy poor whole, right, is subjective to where we are and what we've experienced. Now, when we speak to the pain body, right, the pain body is exactly the same. So what happens is most people get so wrapped up in the mutable universal laws, they forget that they're mutable and that they're designed to change, because they're there to teach us and show us and lead us into how to move beyond them, right? You with me? It'll all make sense in a second. So what this tells us about pain and pleasure is when we're used to fighting, right? When we know hard, when we've been through adversity, no matter what it is we know pain. We know the pain body. We get very familiar with the pain body. We are well versed in pain. We're completely unafraid of it, right? Because we know what to expect. We know how to handle it. The pleasure body, completely different scenario. What is easy? What is easy? What is this concept of where everything just kind of happens for me really easily, right? Like, what does pleasure feel like in my body? It feels quite foreign to us. And if it feels foreign to us, we can't create resonance in our body, right? If we can't create that current in our body, then our reality will constantly operate at this pain body, right? Now, here's the other thing that is really worth knowing, right? Is when we experience pain or pleasure, there is an arousal, a charge in the body that takes place, right? There is a chemical shift that happens inside our bodies, whether we're in pain or pleasure. This charge is exactly the same. Now, our bodies need this charge to take action, to move forward, right? Now, this arousal in the body, because pleasure and pain belong on the same pole, they're the same thing. They can coexist if we choose, if we allow it, if we flex that muscle. Now, if we are getting that arousal from the pain body, guess what comes up in our reality? More pain, more hardship, right? Because we literally need that charge in our body, that chemical release. We need that to survive, right? So our survival state is based on pain, right? So what you will hear me bang on about a lot is the importance of connecting into our pleasure bodies. Connecting into our pleasure bodies. It is not a luxury item. It is an essential ingredient in how we operate. If you want to move out of survival mode, if you want to move into a state of overflow, we need to tap into our pleasure bodies. We need to start having a lived experience, having the current of pleasure, the current of arousal from a state of pleasure move through our bodies instead of pain. And that is when we begin to move into overflow. When we change, when we flip that switch, our reality shifts. We manifest overflow, but we cannot do that if we're currently operating, our operating system is that of pain, right? So, another really important thing to point out here is when we're in that pain operating system, our nervous system, we are constantly having to regulate our nervous system. So our nervous system regulation, very important skill that we have, that we use, that we harness, that we implement into our days. However, it is also a management system. To regulate your nervous system is to manage your survival mode. So you're literally staying in an operating system of survival mode, and you cannot move into overflow. So you are literally living this reality that is the same because of the charge, the arousal that's moving through our bodies. It identifies with it from a place of pain and not pleasure because they're on the same pole. So this is really important. The law of polarity and understanding it, in particular, pain and pleasure, is really important. If you want to start to manifest from a place of overflow, you cannot do it if you're still turned on by pain. Right? Now, you may think, I am not turned on by pain. I am absolutely sick of pain. I am done with pain. I am done with hard. Unconsciously, subconsciously, you get the adrenaline spike that you get in your body from pain, from being the warrior, from being the rebel. It ignites action. That charge in your body, babe, is arousal from a place of pain, right? And that is what we've been operating on for a very long time. And so you connecting into your innate pleasure, the pleasure that's inside your body. I'm not talking about going on a hunt for external pleasure. I'm talking about innate pleasure. I'm talking about the current that lives inside of you that is so deep that it's of reverence and it worships you to such a degree that you are deeply worthy, that you are operating from a place of overflow where you are so rich and so nourished and so full, whereby you're giving and receiving on a completely new level. It's a very new operating system. And it begins with how you can connect in with your pleasure body. If you want to avoid pain, this is exactly what you need to do. Not avoid pain. Pain is a very vital ingredient. I must say that as well. So it's not that we will never experience pain, but when we're tapped into our pleasure body, how we experience pain when it arises, we coexist with it. So pleasure and pain exist at the same time, and you still feel you can experience pain, but innately you can still embody pleasure. You have a very different experience in the world and what you co-create, because whether you're aware of it or not, you, my friend, are a powerful fucking creator. And we can create a very new reality for ourselves. This is something that I feel so, so strongly and passionate about because it's not spoken about enough. And I'm here for these real conversations. I'm here to share with you. I can feel myself getting emotional. I'm here to share with you that you matter. You matter, and how you feel in this world matters. We deserve to feel good. You deserve to feel good. And it begins by being aware of when we've been getting off unconsciously of pain and moving into a place that is beyond that. And so I would love for you to subscribe, like, comment. I've got the Overflow Era Blueprint that is absolutely free, that you can access it below. And I would love for you to begin moving into your own experience and your own operating system of overflow, because everybody deserves that. Bye, everybody.